Welcome to Restoring Education in America with Priscilla Ron. She's a master educator and author, leading the conversation to restore the American mind through wisdom, virtue, and truth.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to Restoring Education in America. I'm your host, Priscilla Ron, and I'm so excited that you've decided to join the conversation today. There's a lot going on in our nation, but one bright light is there's a new private school that's opening this fall called Excalibur Classical Academy. They're opening in the Centennial area. Their mission and vision is restoring America's heritage by developing servant leaders who are keepers and defenders of the principles of freedom, for which our founding fathers pledged their lives, fortunes, and sacred honor. And if you'd like to learn more, please go to their website, excaliburclassicalacademy.org. They're opening this fall K through 3 and adding a grade level every year thereafter. So why is this school model so important? You know, there's a lot of conversations going on in our nation. And one thing I've noticed as a 32-year veteran master educator is that a lot of adults don't even understand what the Constitution says. They don't understand America's heritage. And I want to talk about some of the things that are happening federally and locally. And I'm going to bring my friend to the stage. We're just going to have a great conversation. The Honorable Stephanie Hancock. Hi, Stephanie.
Hi. Thanks for having me back on. Oh, man. There is so much to unpack here.
Well, real briefly, for those people who don't know you, you are a city councilwoman in Aurora, and we are actually BFF. So we get to talk quite a bit. And I said, Stephanie, the SAVE Act, this whole conversation from the left it's such rhetoric. Okay, so for those people who may not know what the SAVE Act is, I'm just going to give you a brief summary of what it says. So basically it says, if you are new to registering to vote, not current registered voters, but if you are new to register to vote, once this passes, you have to prove that you are an American citizen before you are registered to vote. All 50 states require that you prove that you are an American citizen before you vote. But we know that that's not happening all the time. So the only way that this would impact an already registered voter is if you change your address. So if you move, then you have to prove that you have a new address. Okay. And if you move out of the state or just buy a new house, you're going to have to change all of your identification, like your driver's license, to show that you have moved residences. At that time, when you register to vote, you have to tell the Secretary of State that you have changed your address. Okay. The other reason that you would have to prove citizenship is if you have a name change, a legal name change. That could look in all different kind of forms. But one of the things that is causing the left heartburn is they're saying, oh, if you're married and you change your last name, you're going to be excluded from voting. It's going to be too difficult for you to vote. Well, pardon me. We're going to get into that about how easy it is for you to take your marriage license into any agency and prove that you've changed your last name. And the other reason why you would need to prove citizenship is if you change party. So any kind of legal voting change that you make, you have to prove that you are an American citizen. The bill also says, Stephanie, that states will have to remove you from the voter rolls if you are not a legal citizen. Okay, so that's the summary. That's literally all this bill says. It passed the House. It's now in the Senate. Why is the left having such heartburn over this?
Again, this is another concerted effort by those on the left to dismantle, disrupt, and destroy our country. And that's really the bottom line here. You need valid identification to get just about everything in this country, to get on a plane, to get a prescription, to buy cigarettes. But when you go to the marijuana store, you have to present proper ID. And so, voting, the most important thing that we can do in this country, deserves protection and validation. And to have some Joe Schmo come up off the street and say, well, my name is, and you're supposed to say, well, you look like him, go ahead and vote. That's the stupidest thing I've ever heard. And it undermines the credibility, the integrity of our voting system. Simple as that.
So, okay, I have been in a Facebook conversation with some individuals on the left, and a woman literally said I was engaging in white privilege. Okay, okay, I have a screenshot because I was like, okay, here we go. White privilege. And then I started being called a fascist. And then I was called a troll, all because I was asking simple questions and defending the fact that in the United States, it's the law. You have to be a US citizen in order to vote. And you have to prove that. One of the easiest ways to prove that you're a US citizen is by showing your birth certificate. Every US citizen has a birth certificate. And so they said, well, what if you lose it in a fire? Then you have to go buy one, and that's a poll tax. Okay, so first of all, it's not a poll tax. The Supreme Court has already ruled that showing an ID validating who you are is not a poll tax, okay? Second of all, it's so cheap to go online and buy a copy of your birth certificate, all right? Now, you must already be registered to vote. So here's the scenario. Let's say you're currently not registered to vote, okay? And the SAVE Act passes the Senate and the president signs it into law, Stephanie. And you decide the day of election that you want to go vote. But the night before, your house burnt down and your birth certificate and your passport, everything is destroyed. Now you can't go vote. So here's my question. Why didn't you register to vote? Why aren't you registered to vote right now?
Mm-hmm.
If you have your documents and you have your proof that you're a US citizen, why aren't you registered to vote?
It's a fundamental tenet of who we are as US citizens. I mean, people literally died for our right to vote. And for people to be so ambivalent about it is really sad. And it really shows the level of just disconnection of people from the system because, well, a lot of folks legitimately feel that they feel like their vote doesn't count, that nobody's listening to them. But if you don't vote, that's your voice. And whether, there's a whole rabbit hole we could go down about election integrity, ... But this is not that. This is your fundamental right as a US citizen to cast your ballot. And if my daughter lost her birth certificate, we had to pay the $20 so she could get a passport. She had to have a birth certificate to get a passport. You have to have a birth certificate to get your driver's license. You have to have these documents. And so for someone to intimate that because you can't get your birth certificate, it is somehow disenfranchising you from voting, that's a straw man that has no viability at all.
Okay, I'm going to say this is a fact. You cannot even register for school, not just public school, private school, charter school. You cannot register for school without a birth certificate.
A valid birth certificate.
Every child has a birth certificate. If you're a parent and you've lost it and you don't have your stuff locked up securely in a safe or in a file cabinet, which I wouldn't understand why something as important as your birth certificate you don't have secured, but let's just say you lost it, go online to the health department and order a duplicate original copy. It is not difficult. It is not expensive. And if you are really, truly poor, there are a lot of ways that you can get a photo ID that will identify you, especially if you don't have a passport, which is fine. If you don't have a passport, I think it's smart to have a passport. But if you don't have one, that's okay. And if you don't have a driver's license because you don't drive, that's okay. But you have a birth certificate.
Yes.
Okay.
And it usually costs about $25 to get a replacement birth certificate, typically in most states.
So let's talk about, okay, so we're talking when we say election fraud, that's a very broad term. what the US government right now is just trying to establish a baseline. You must be a US citizen to vote. Not a single American citizen should disagree with this law. This is what democracy looks like. We, the people, have said we want to be governed. You know, this is how we want our law. Someone said, well, why doesn't the government, if they want to change the Constitution, why don't they pass an amendment? And I'm like, this is the legal way. We were talking about the legislative branch. See, people don't even understand how our government works, how the legislative branch writes the laws. Okay. So what we're seeing right now is the legal path. All right. Okay. But the other thing that we're talking about, Stephanie, I know you want to get some words in, is I know for a fact there are people, I've had a friend who had 4 ballots mailed to her address. I know that there have been people who've moved out of the state of Colorado who have ballots sent to them in Colorado and then are encouraged by Ocasio-Cortez. If you're in New York, even if you don't live in another state, I mean, even if you live here, register, get your ballot, but we want you to vote in states where it's close, even though you legally live in New York City. I mean,
which is fraud.
It's fraud. She's engaged in fraud. And I know this for a fact. I'm not making this up. This is firsthand, okay, from people who live and have heard her speak. There are people where they have testified, people who are dead are getting ballots mailed to their house.
Yes.
We know there's images and video of pictures of ballots being in the trash, like piles of ballots. Okay, so there's a problem. There's lots and lots of problems. And we should have trust in our elections. Over 70% of the American people have said they want more transparency, more trust. We want IDs when we go to vote.
And I think that's reasonable to expect. And there are those who are advocating for in-person voting again, that mail-in ballots that was the worst idea to ever happen because it's fraught with fraud and corruption. And, in my own experience, working with the election folks, that there have been 12 ballots voted, sent to one house, 12 people living in a 1-bedroom apartment. So folks have moved and haven't changed their addresses, but they're still getting ballots. So 12 ballots by 4 different names of 4 different individuals are going to one particular address, which is problematic.
Okay, so I've door knocked a ton, and I have the app, and you go to the address, and there are multiple names, different last names, multiple people that are assigned to that address. And there can't be all those people who live there, number one. And there have been multiple times where I've gone to an address. There's no house there. It's like a lot, like it's empty. And it's like, well, where's the residence here? It's like something is really off.
Yeah.
And you see enough of that. And I think this is such a simple solution. Let's just make sure the voter rolls are cleaned up, that we have citizens, okay, that are legal citizens that are voting. All right. So if you're just tuning in, my special guest today is the Honorable Stephanie Hancock. She's a Aurora City Councilwoman. I want to do something live on the air because right now the Senate is hearing argument. So I want to call my state senator. Okay.
Hi, you've reached the office of Senator John Hickenlooper. If you're receiving this message during office hours, we are on the other line. Please leave a message and we will get back to you very soon. You can also reach us via our website at hickenlooper.senate.gov. Thank you for your call. We look forward to speaking with you.
Hello, my name is Priscilla Ron, and I am a constituent of Senator Hickenlooper. I'm calling because I know the Senate is hearing argument about the SAVE Act, and I'm calling to ask that the senator vote in favor of the SAVE Act. I believe that this is good for our country. I believe that only U.S. citizens should be allowed to vote in our federal elections. I support this not only as an African American, but as a woman who is married. I believe that there are no issues around proving identity. And so I would encourage Senator Hickenlooper to please vote yes in favor of the SAVE Act. Thank you.
That is what you, as a citizen in the state of Colorado or wherever state you live, that's what you should do.
But wait, I have one more senator.
Yes, we do.
Who happens to be running for governor
Of the state of Colorado, Michael Bennet.
My former superintendent at Denver Public Schools. Let's see if anybody answers in the federal government.
Well, he should have voicemail, you would think.
You would think. Uh-oh, Senator Bennet. Senator Bennet.
You're a senator, Mr. Bennet.
202-224-5852. This is the number to DC. You know what? Let's try. Okay, so we know, look, I tried. Okay, let's try the Denver number. Okay, let's see. Surely the Denver number has.
Thank you for calling the office of U.S. Senator Michael Bennet. Currently, we're receiving an increased call volume and may be assisting other constituents on the next line. Senator Bennet is concerned about Colorado's federal employees and federally funded organizations, and our office is here to help. You may leave a message for the senator at the beep. This voicemail is monitored frequently. If you're experiencing an issue with a federal agency, please speak slowly and include the agency, your name, phone number, and email in your message. Gracias por llamar a la oficina del senador Michael Bennet. Actualmente estamos recibiendo un volumen elevado de llamadas y es posible que estemos atendiendo a otros constituyentes. Si está teniendo un problema con una agencia federal, favor de dejar un mensaje después del tono. Por favor, hable despacio, incluya la agencia, su nombre, número de teléfono y correo electrónico en su mensaje. Gracias.
Hello, my name is Priscilla Ron. I am a constituent of Senator Bennet. I live here in Douglas County, Colorado, calling to ask the senator to vote yes on the SAVE Act. I believe that only U.S. citizens should be allowed to vote in our elections, and in order to ensure that our elections are done properly, that there's transparency, and that the voter rolls are clean. I think that every American citizen, when they go to register to vote, should prove that they are a U.S. citizen. I'm also an African American. I am a woman who is married, and I do not believe that there are any barriers for people who are in my community to access the ballot. And so I would please encourage you to vote yes. Let's bring integrity back to our elections, trust back to our elections, and require that all U.S. citizens prove that they are eligible to vote, and that anyone who is not a U.S. citizen be removed from their state's voter rolls. Thank you so much. Bye-bye. All right. So I don't care if they're a Democrat. They are my senator, and they are now responsible for making this vote. And I'm going to be very, very upset if a United States senator who has sworn an obligation to uphold the Constitution. The obligation is not to me as a Republican or to me as a, whatever the demographic I fit into. The obligation is to the Constitution. That is the oath that they take. Okay. Mm-hmm. And so every state has statewide laws around elections that say you have to be a U.S. citizen, but we know that there are a lot of problems. So guess what? For every problem, Stephanie, there's a solution, and here's a solution. And this is a low-hanging fruit. This is easy for the senators. This should not be partisan.
It should not be partisan, and yet it is partisan. There are those who are standing on the steps of the Capitol making this a partisan issue. You got, folks who are saying that this is going to undermine our democracy, which is insane and counterintuitive to who we are as a country. It is important that we understand the value and the importance of our vote. I was in Mexico last year, and when I entered the country, I showed my passport. 2 questions they asked me: why are you here, and how long are you staying? That's, but we opened up our borders and said, everybody, come on in. We don't care where you're from, how you got here. We don't care how long you're staying. And hey, while you're here, we're going to give you a bunch of free stuff, including the right that people literally died for us to have the right to vote. It is, I was reading a book by Victor Davis Hanson called The Dying Citizen. And you made a point earlier about people not understanding what the Constitution is, what it means. I have some who have never even read the Constitution because they say, well, the Constitution wasn't written for us. I don't know who us is, but as an American citizen, it was written for me to protect me. I served in the military because I believe in the Constitution. People throw around a lot of terms that they don't even understand, like fascist, white supremacists, white privilege. And you don't have to be white to have white privilege, which cracks me up. And they use these words so interchangeably that now they really don't even mean anything anymore. And if you ask someone what is a fascist, they could not give you a definition. And the fact that we are entertaining, we've elected socialist mayors all over this country is very telling and very frightening.
Well, we have sanctuary cities everywhere. But in Colorado, you don't have to be a U.S. citizen to get a driver's license. Apparently, you just have to bring a birth certificate or legal presence documents, plus proof of Colorado residency. So what, like a mortgage bill, rent
bill or something like that,
like water bill.
Mm-hmm. And I think the license has some distinction on it that says not a U.S. citizen. It did when I was working in the multifamily housing industry.
Check this out.
This does not denote U.S. citizenship. It's some such language like that.
So a social security card is no longer required for some as of March 2025. I'm getting this off the internet. So nothing that I see here that says you are required to be a U.S. citizen to get a driver's license, but it is a form of ID. Okay. But what happens in Colorado when you go to get a driver's license? You're automatically registered to vote.
And typically you're registered to vote Democratic.
Is that true or unaffiliated?
I've heard Democrat. They automatically register you as a Democrat.
Well, we know they're not automatically registering them as a Republican. That we do.
No, we already know.
So we'll have to get back. We'll have to get back.
I will have to ask my contact over in the DMV.
Okay. So this is a problem because I don't think you should be automatically registered to vote when you go get a driver's license when you're not required to prove that you're a U.S. citizen at the time of getting a driver's license.
That's extremely problematic.
Someone listening to this, you can correct me if I'm wrong. Someone can write into me, Priscilla@PriscillaRon.com, or go to my website, PriscillaRon.com, and send me a message and say, Priscilla, here's the process. But
I'd like to know that too.
But yeah, for us as married women, okay, so when I got married, I proudly changed my last name. Because I saw this meme even today on the internet. No woman should have to take an extra step to vote than any man. And it's like, oh, excuse me. You mean wives? Okay, those of us who love and respect our husbands enough to change our last name, to take that extra step, because when I got married, I had to change everything: insurance card, driver's license, social security, passport, all of these documents. I was so proud that I could change my last name, including my voter registration. Okay. So to say that we as women, can't access the ballot because we're now married, and like all of a sudden, like millions and millions, like what, 70 million women are going to be disenfranchised from voting because they're married. That's so much rhetoric and so untrue. I'm trying to like be really, kosher about what I'm saying right now.
Well, it's nonsense. It's nonsense, and it really unmasks a deeper problem that we probably can't get into here about the breakdown of familial bonds and the concept of family, which is at the heart of this movement that wants to destabilize the country. You destabilize the family, you destabilize the country. And so what we have is war against the quote unquote patriarchy that some women who are invested in, who I think, well, I'm not going to say that, but they don't want to submit to the authority of family and to a husband. And so with that said, they want to dismantle everything that goes around that. For me, I'm like you. When I got married some years ago, I was so happy to change my name, to take my husband's name, because by taking that name, I took him. And that was my commitment to him. And to show that this is our family, this is our unit. The first form of government is the family. And when that is dismantled, then we have everything else going downhill from there. And this is just another brick in the wall to try to destroy the family.
Yeah, I can't imagine the kind of person who created that post. I don't know if they're a woman or a man, if they're single, because I'm just having a hard time thinking any married woman with common sense would think they couldn't access a ballot because they're married. And to go back again, we're already registered. So if the SAVE Act passes, it doesn't impact us one bit unless I have an address change or a legal name change. I have zero to worry about when it comes to voting should this pass. But guess who has a problem with it? Democrats and illegals. Those are the people who have a problem with any sort of election integrity, having to prove U.S. citizenship. Like, let's just call it what it is. And
they want to participate in fraud. So imagine if we go to Mexico. Why don't you and I just take a trip down to Mexico at the next election, and let's just take our IDs and we don't need our IDs. Let's just cross the border and say we want to vote for the next president here in Mexico.
Yeah.
Yeah,
we already know that other countries have even stricter laws around immigration.
But we're supposed to fling our doors open and let everybody come in here. Because again, this is a concerted effort to dismantle, disrupt, destroy America.
Well, listen, sis, that is a great way to end our episode today, is to remind people that we have a constitution, we have laws, and we need to follow them. But to my listeners, thank you so much for tuning in. Catch me next time. And remember, educating the mind without the heart is no education. So seek wisdom, cultivate virtue, and speak truth.
Thanks for tuning in to Restoring Education in America with Priscilla Ron. Visit PriscillaRon.com to connect or learn how you can sponsor future episodes to keep this message of faith, freedom, and education on the air.